Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex, and these are my top 15 most anticipated games of 2023 because that's where we are. We're almost in 2023 right now, so you better get ready for a great year of board games. Honestly, it is so hard to do this video and pick this list. I feel like I could do my top 50 most anticipated games better than I could do my top 15. And that's why I'm doing 15 instead of 10. I couldn't just pick 10. It hurt my heart too much. I wanted to pick 15. We're just at such a great place in the board game world, in the board game hobby. You know, every single year there's going to be a game that you love. You know you're going to find something because we're just putting out great stuff these days, and I love it so much. So here we go. Here's my top 15 most anticipated games of 2023. In number 15, I have Marvel Age of Heroes from WizKids. And one of the reasons I'm excited about this game is it focuses on X-Men specifically. We're in a world and an age right now where Marvel characters are super popular across all different media, but when I was a kid, I was X-Men. I was X-Men only. I didn't care about Avengers or any of that sort of stuff. I wanted the X-Men. The X-Men cartoon in the 90s was one of my favorite things of all time. It was one of the greatest theme songs ever. I remember one time when I was like 8 years old, I did not want to go to Disneyland because I thought I was going to miss the X-Men cartoon on Saturday morning, okay? I thought it was, I was like, no, we can't go to Disneyland. I got to see the show. And then my mom explained that you could tape it. And then I was like, okay, fine. We can go to Disneyland. So in Marvel Age of Heroes, you are commanding a duo of X-Men characters who are dispatched to defeat villains, complete objectives, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, you can level up your character, you can power up your character along the way, but I just want to play as X-Men and beat bad guys, and that's why I'm excited about Marvel Age of Heroes. Next up is Rua, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Well, regardless, I'm excited about it, and part of the reason I'm excited about it is it's from the team behind Nidavellir. And Nidavellir is easily one of my top 20, if not top 10 games of all time. I love Nidavellir so much, and so I'm kind of on board with anything that those people make. I want to check out anything those people make. And one of the other things that's cool about Rua is that in the game, you are building an engine that you get to fire off multiple times during the game. You know, I love engine building games in general. It's super fun and satisfying when you can fire that engine and go like, oh, look what I've built. Yes. The theme of Rua is that you are returning life to a sterile planet using your shamanistic powers. That's cool too, you know? So everything about this one is making me excited, you know? Fire off that engine, dog! Number 13 is Robot Quest Arena from Wise Wizard Games. This is a deck building programming game where you are fighting in an arena with robots. You are fighting other robots in an arena. It feels like BattleBots, the board game. And it doesn't hurt that all of the robots look super cool. They're these big miniatures with bright colors. It looks super fun. And there really is some, you know, yes, it's BattleBots and it's wacky and stuff like that, but there's definitely real strategy in terms of how you're building your deck. What cards are you getting? What do you want to program your robot to do? You know, you can definitely get different types of power-ups and stuff like that for your robot. So which way are you going to focus and what are you going to try to do? You know, it's a really fun sort of arena combat game where maybe the stakes aren't so high. If I'm playing as like a person in an arena combat and I get damaged, I'm like, no, Timothy is hurting. He's got children to take care of. Why would you do that to Timothy? But in a robot, arena battle game, I'm like, pew, 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 who cares? We're just fighting. So yeah, check it out, Robot Quest Arena. Number 12 is Glitch Squad from Resonim Games. And Resonim has done some very interesting thinky party games. Phantom Inc. was one of my favorite party games of 2022. And Glitch Squad is also sort of a thinkier party game. Thematically, you are playing as a team of forensic scientists trying to solve crimes. But, that doesn't really matter. That doesn't really come in that much. Mostly what it is, what makes it a fun game, what makes it an interesting game, is that you are trying to write 3 clues on this little sort of flip board and to help your teammates guess one piece of evidence about the crime. A weapon, a occupation, a hobby, a location, that sort of thing. But there's a cat named Glitch who's jumping around the lab and messing things up. And so as the other team, you will be writing 3 clues down, and then the other team gets to act as Glitch the cat, and they get to erase one of the clues that you've written and then write in a glitched clue to try to stump you. So when you write, your 3 clues, they're probably gonna have a thematic tie-in with each other because they're all trying to point to one thing. So then when you erase it, you're like, okay, how can I write in a word that ties in with one of these other words? And now the other team doesn't know which direction to go to. 2 words are kind of tied to each other. 2 words are kind of tied to each other. What's happening here? How do I figure this out? So, it's definitely in that sort of word association party game sort of thing, like a So Clover, Just One, Codenames. We've seen a lot of these word association party games, but I think this one does it really well. I had a chance to play the prototype once upon a time, and it was just, a real fun game, and a game that also can be played in about 15 minutes, that sort of thing. So if you like a quick party game that has some thinkiness to it, Glitch Squad is going to be a fun one. Number 11 is Seas of Havoc from Rock Manor Games. I love pirate games in general. I think it's super fun to pretend to be a pirate, just that sort of swashbuckling, not like a modern pirate. That's not fun at all. I mean like an old-timey, legendary pirate. Pirate make-believe. Pirate make-believe is fun. Pirate real life, not so fun. But pirate make-believe, very fun. And in Seas of Havoc, you get to play a pirate fighting against other pirates. This is definitely like a combat heavy game where it's about fighting the other pirates, not just about going around and getting treasure and that sort of stuff. There's a lot of different mechanisms in the game. There's some worker placement, there's some deck building, there's combat, there's a lot of different stuff. So, definitely a medium weight game. But one of the things that's really cool about it is that the pirate characters themselves have asymmetric abilities, and then the pirate ships have their own asymmetric abilities, and every game you're going to be combining the 2 of them, so there's a bunch of different replayability, and different combinations are going to kind of make your strategy different, right? Like the way you combo your pirate ship and your pirate captain together is going to change the way you play the game. And I like asymmetric player powers because, it's fun to explore the different characters, but now you have a double layer of asymmetric character powers, and that just makes me really excited about the game. Number 10 is Empire's End from Brotherwise Games. We've seen a lot of civilization building games. Well, this is a game where you are trying to save a civilization from collapsing. It kind of takes the other angle in a civilization game because, so the way mechanically it works, that's thematically, you're saving a civilization, which is fun and different. But mechanically the way it works is you have a bunch of tiles that are next to each other, and adjacency is going to matter in terms of, firing off special abilities of the tiles and that sort of stuff. But then every round, a disaster comes up. and you each bid a certain amount of resources that you have, and the person who bids the least amount of resources has to take that disaster, and it's going to affect their civilization. You obviously don't want disasters if you're trying to save a civilization. But whoever takes the disaster, whoever bids the least, also gets everybody else's bids. So there's a real thinkiness in terms of I don't want to overbid and give somebody a bunch of stuff. It's essentially, the classic game No Thanks. It does that, but in a, nerdy civilization game. It's not a party game here. And so it's also, it's one of those ones that plays really quick. It's definitely a strategy game, but I feel like you can play it in 45 minutes, and I am always looking for great strategy games that can be played in under an hour. So that's one of the things that excites me about the game too. And just a lot of different ways to score points. There's military tiles, there's science tiles, there's all these different types of things that are going to score you points in different ways. Industry, economy, roads, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Empire's End. I'm stoked for it. Next up is Maple Valley from Kids Table Board Games. So this is set in the same world as Creature Comforts, a game that came out in 2022 that made my top 10 games of the year list. So, that alone is one of the reasons I'm excited about this game. I loved Creature Comforts. I want to see another game set in that world because the world is adorable. It's all these anthropomorphic animals that are, doing things. In Creature Comforts, you were preparing for winter. Well, now in Maple Valley, it is the first day of the Spring Festival, and you are getting ready for the Spring Festival. And so, this is about, the last thing was about knitting wool sweaters and making tea and stuff. Well, this one is about gathering your friends and moving along the trails and stuff, getting everybody together for the Spring Festival. They call it a worker movement game, which is an interesting new sort of way to do. We're not just placing workers on the board and then getting resources. We are moving our workers along these different trails, and based on the stuff we have or the workers we have, we can move along different trails. And moving along different trails is going to get you different stuff. So it feels like a different way to do worker placement. That's one of the things that excites me about this. Worker placement is obviously a very beloved mechanism and a mechanism we see in a lot of games, so it feels hard to do something fresh with that, and it feels like Maple Valley might accomplish that, so I'm really excited to check it out. Plus, it doesn't hurt that the artwork is adorable, the theme is amazing, all of that sort of stuff. Just makes you happy, makes you want to give a hug to a raccoon or something, In the 8th spot, I have Mission Control Critical Orbit from Third World Studios. And I'm going to read these specific words because it is a very specific game. It is an asymmetric, cooperative, roll and write, real-time rescue adventure. So all of the words are in this description. We have shoved everything into this game. Effectively, what that means is it is a real-time game. You have 20 minutes to save an astronaut. The spaceship is messing up and you got to fix the spaceship, and you got a limited time to do that. So that's where the real time comes in. The asymmetric comes in to the fact that all players are doing different things. We're all trying to do a different game that will help the astronaut. One person is doing a Tetris type of thing. One person's doing a Sudoku type of thing. One person is doing a tile laying, polyomino, path building type of thing. So everybody is doing different things to help save the spaceship and the astronaut. It's cooperative because we are all working together trying to accomplish that goal. And it's roll and write because in our asymmetric abilities, we are doing things on our own boards. We are, writing stuff down and figuring things out before we're calling it out to the group. And so, when you talk about a cooperative game, this is going to be very cooperative because everybody is doing separate things and having to do them well. So I'm really relying on the other players. It doesn't matter how well I'm doing my one task if everybody else is blowing their tasks. We need everybody to pull their weight. We need everybody to do their thing and do it well, or we are going down. We don't want this astronaut to die, but he might die. If we're not paying attention, he's gonna die, and we gotta figure it out. We gotta do it together. But it is only 20 minutes, so if if you fail, who cares? Just reset and do it again. That astronaut died. Nobody liked him that much, anyways. We'll just save this next one. We can save another astronaut. Next up is Lunar Rush from Dead Alive Games. And this is a game I made a video for the Kickstarter campaign. I played their prototype and loved it, and it's what makes me excited for the game to come out. I want more people to play this game because it's such a good game. It is a game, one of the things I like to say about it is it's a game that every separate part of the game isn't anything crazy new or different or unique, but it all comes together in such a great package, and a package that I feel like I haven't seen all of these things combined. The thing that I will say that it does new is it's a worker placement game. It's a resource gathering, engine building. You are using the resources you gather to build up your command station and get better things that will help you do more as the game goes on. But the thing that it does differently is it has this really interesting timing aspect to the game. And it adds it can break your brain with the thinkiness of it, because you are sending resources to the moon, using those resources to do things on the moon, and then sending goods down from the moon to sell at market. And that's the main way you're going to get points, is selling these goods at market once it gets back to the Earth. But every pathway up to the moon and down from the moon have multiple different pathways, and the timing aspect of them is different. So for instance, I could put a ship on the short route and I could get goods to the moon and use them that round. However, if I choose the short route, I can only put 2 goods on my spaceship. I'm going for quickness and not for, a lot of stuff. I could also do the long route for the game, and then I could load 9 things onto my spaceship, but it's going to take me 3 turns to get any of that stuff to be able to use it. So, it really does make it very interesting in terms of how are you planning for a long time from now? Are you trying to get stuff right now to accomplish this one very specific thing? You have to bid on all of those routes. You have to bid on those pathways. And so, there's a lot of player interaction in this game. It's definitely one of those games that if you make a mistake, you will be punished. There was a time I was playing this with my friends, and I got at one point I stood up and I was like, I gotta take a walk. I just messed up. I realize now that I made a real stupid decision, and I just need to take a walk around the house and clear my head because I'm super mad at myself right now. It's one of those games that it punishes you if you don't play it really well, but because of that, it's so interesting, and it makes you want to play it again, because if you make a mistake, you're like, okay, I've learned from that. I want to play the game again because I want to do better this next time. That is Lunar Rush. Number 6 is Dawn of Eulos from Thunderworks Games. And this is an area control game that does it in a different way, because in most area control games, you're controlling a faction and putting out guys and fighting for area majorities in different parts of the map. But here, you don't control a faction yourself. There are a bunch of different factions fighting for control on the map, but you control none of them. You are buying stocks in the different factions and hoping that the faction that you have the most stocks in is going to have the most area control. So it basically turns area control into a gambling type of game. You are buying stocks, you're selling stocks, you're trying to predict who's going to win different areas and be right in your gamble. And I just feel like that does area control in such a different way. And it's also fun because, then it's not quite as personal. Area control can oftentimes get a little mean, right? Where you're just like, ha ha, I've stolen your area. But this, you're just trying to predict who's going to come out on top by buying. It turns it into like an economic game. So, everybody kind of starts, all the factions start with their own areas, and you're going to be laying tiles down on the board. And if two tiles ever make two factions come together, if it joins their two areas, then only one of them can come out on top. And hopefully you bet on who was going to do that. So yeah, that's Dawn of Eulos. Next up is Tesseract from Smirk and Laughter Games. This is a cooperative game, and a cooperative game that is highly collaborative. You will have to work together in concert with everybody else to solve this game, to win this game, because it presents a real challenge. There is a cube of 64 dice, and that also doesn't hurt the game either. It looks super cool on the table. This is a game that has amazing table presence. Anybody walking by is going to be like, what is going on here? I want in. And so that makes me excited about it. I'm a sucker for solid table presence. But what you're trying to do is basically pull dice off of this big old thing of dice and manipulate the dice numbers in different ways to contain the dice. If you get too many dice in one area, you're going to lose the game. But if you can manipulate the dice to have 3 of one number or 3 of one color or something like that, well, now you can neutralize those dice. And so when I call it a highly collaborative cooperative game, you're trying to do, it is turn-based, but it's not just about your turn. You are talking the entire time with other players, trying to figure out how to set them up too. It's not just about what you're doing on your turn. It's about what's going to happen 2 turns from now. I need to do something that helps us right now, but I also need to plan well to help you 2 turns from now, because if we're not planning ahead like that, we're going to lose this game. And so, yeah, if you want like a solid, thinky, cooperative game, Tesseract is going to be a good one. Number 4 is Septima from Mindclash Games. Mindclash Games is known for their very, very big, heavy, complex games. And Septima, they told me, was one of their attempts to have more of a medium weight style game. A game that's a little bit more accessible for people to get into. And that's something that I was very excited about, just that alone, because I don't play Mindclash games very often because they're a little out of my wheelhouse. They're too complex for the people and the stuff that I'm playing with. I love medium weight games, and so this feels like a medium weight game that I can jump into, and I'm stoked about that. Also, I love the theme. You are playing as witches trying to build up your coven, but you're trying to avoid witch hunters along the way. One of the coolest things about the game to me is the mechanisms. There is simultaneous action selection. Everybody has the same set of 9 cards, and you are choosing one of the cards to play at the same time as everybody else. And then that's going to determine what you're doing for that turn, what you're doing that round. And if you play the same card as somebody else, then you get a special bonus extra power. And it's a very powerful power, because now you're like working with another witch and that sort of stuff. But if you do that, if you play the same card as another player and get that special power, well, now you've also raised the suspicion of the witch hunters. So you are putting yourself at risk. So there's that real push and pull of like, do I want this cool special bonus ability right now? Do I want to risk it? Do I want to, play on the edge here? There's almost like a push your luck aspect to it where I'm like, do I want to push it right now, or do I want to just do something else? and you can talk to the other players. Hey, what are you playing? Let's play the same thing. You can be lying, you can be telling the truth. I love that social interaction of it. This is like a very strategic game that still has a lot of player interaction and talking and trying to figure out what everybody else is playing, and that makes me really excited about it. Ooh, Septima. Number 3 is Heroes of Barcadia from Roll a Crit. So this is just a, super fun dungeon crawl party style game, but instead of having, hit points and things like that, you have a glass and your liquid is your life. So every time you take damage, you drink part of your liquid, and then there are lines on there telling you how much health your character has left. And I love that sort of stuff. It makes a drinking game out of a dungeon crawl game, and I'm super excited to combine those two things. You can obviously play with water or non-alcohol if you want to. I will for sure be playing this game with beer. I love the idea of having beer as my health system and stuff, and I'm also a beer snob, so I get to combine a good beer. That'll be like the hardest part of this game. If I'm taking a bunch of damage in a row and I'm like, no, this beer, I shouldn't be drinking this beer this fast. This is a sipping beer. And it's like, nope, well, then play better. Then don't take so much damage, Grant. And so you are moving around a board and revealing tiles as you go, and those tiles are going to have different special benefits for you. They're going to have, things you have to fight, things you have to accomplish, things you have to get over. It is a competitive game where everybody will be moving around this dungeon, and then whoever can, defeat the big bad guy first without dying is going to win. It also is a game that doesn't take itself very seriously. You might already assume that by having a liquid health system, but there's a ton of puns in the game. It's just very, very silly and fun. It knows what it is, and I'm somebody that likes that sort of stuff. I like silly games. I like puns. I like, anytime we can just be social together. Those are some of the games I like the most. And Heroes of Barcadia is definitely one you walk away with stories, with memories, with, playing with your friends. It's about the friendships at the table and just moving around, fighting stuff, drinking drinks. Number 2 is Hickory Dickory from Plaid Hat Games, and this game comes out in January, so we don't have to wait that long for one of my most anticipated games of the year. I know, starting the year off great, that's really fun. In Hickory Dickory, you are riding the arms of a clock to spaces where you can jump off and then take actions and get benefits. And so it's a worker placement game, but instead of just going to where you're going, you are riding the hands of a clock. And I just love that idea so much. And, this is another one of those games that is certainly elevated by its table presence. The clock moving around looks awesome. The artwork, the look of the whole thing looks really cool. It just makes me really excited for the game. Now, there is definitely more strategy to it because there can only be a certain number of workers on the clock hand. So as you ride around, you might be trying to wait for a specific place to jump off to take that action to get that benefit. But if before you get to the place you're looking for, somebody jumps onto the back of the clock hand, they can push you off and push you onto some other place that you weren't as excited to go. So there's definitely that tension in the game of like, oh, do I want to ride it all the way down to the 6? Am I going to make it to the 6? I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, I'm super excited about Hickory Dickory. It looks cool. It does worker placement in a different way. I love the theme of it. Here we go, Hickory Dickory. And my number 1 most anticipated game of 2023 is Inside Job from Cosmos. This is a game that combines trick-taking, cooperative trick-taking, with a hidden traitor. And I have no idea how they're going to pull that off, but I am excited to check it out and see if they do. Essentially, think about, doing hidden roles and a traitor in The Crew. That is what this game is. Cooperative trick taking like The Crew, and that's one of the reasons I'm excited about it. The Crew, one of my favorite games of all time. So I love that idea of cooperative trick taking, but I also love hidden role games, social deduction games. I've said before on my channel that I'm somebody that likes playing games to be social, to hang out with my friends and stuff like that, which is one of the reasons I love social deduction games, because they are inherently social. It's all about talking to your friends and hanging out and that sort of stuff. And so you combine cooperative trick taking with social deduction, and I'm on board. You know, I want to see how this works. You know, we're trying to accomplish missions together, but there is somebody amongst us that is gumming up the system, that is messing us up as we try to cooperatively accomplish these trick objectives. Who is it? Who's messing it up? I want to know. I want to play this game. Inside Job. Also, it's in one of those small box games. That's one of the best things about The Crew, right? You can bring it anywhere with you. Inside Job, another small box game. I love being able to take small box games with me when I travel and introduce other people to games, and I feel like this is one of the ones I can do that with. So that's Inside Job. I'm super stoked. All of these games on this list, though, I'm excited about. You know, it's so hard to rank them and all that sort of stuff. Any game on here, I'm pretty confident is going to be an awesome game that I'm going to love. So I'm excited to check out all of them. So I hope you're excited to check out some games in 2023. I want to know, there's always so many games coming out that, you know, you can't keep tabs on all of them. If you have some games you're really excited about, put them in the comments, because I want to check out some other stuff. I want to know what I should be looking out for and stuff like that. So leave the games you're excited about in the comments. For the first time ever, I've got t-shirts, so I'll put the link in my description for t-shirts. So if you want a Grant's Game Rex t-shirt, you can check that out. I also got a Patreon now these days with cool benefits on there. So if you want to support me and the work that I'm doing here, check out my Patreon. I hope to see you all at a convention in 2023. I hope to play a game with you. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.